Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January edition of the Town of Kent Zoning Board of Appeals. Before we begin, please rise with me and pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First application up, by the way, before we begin, if any applicants have those green return receipt cards, when you come up to sign in, before you sign in, just bring them up to the bench, and then you can, everyone has to sign in at the podium when you get up there. And with that, we'll give Mr. Bosworth a chance to get settled. Great, so the first application up this evening is that of Leonard Goldberg, 146 Dykeman Road.
Yes, ma'am.
You have some receipts for us?
So these are the ones that were returned and the ones that we wrote out.
Great,
And this one came back
okay,
undeliverable.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
So please sign in.
Shall I use my father's address for this or my home? The house that we're talking about tonight, right?
Yeah, mhm. So please tell us why you're here this evening.
My father built decks on the back of the house, and he, I guess, didn't understand zoning, and so it's a 12-foot variance that's required for it to become in order.
Okay, well, as you're aware, we were out to take a look. And,
Yes, right? People came out and looked, yep.
Yeah. I'll open it up to the board for any commentary on this matter.
I've got no objection. You know, we
Okay.
took a look at it.
Yep. All good. Bobby?
I concur. No
Great.
objection.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're all set. You can follow up with the building department. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Next matter up on the agenda is that of Thomas Bertolini, 24 Laguna Road.
Hi. Thank you. Excuse me.
Good evening, Mr. Laguna. Why don't you tell us why you're here this evening?
I have a seasonal residency that I'm trying to convert over to an accessory to the main house, main structure. I live at 28 Laguna, and the property is 24 Laguna. And trying to get a variance to make an accessory structure to that address.
Okay. As you know, we were out to your location, took a look at it. However, there are a couple of issues with the application in that it is not complete. You listed on the application that you need an accessory structure an inhabitable structure, accessory structure to main house is what you had written on the application. However, you didn't specify the type of variance that you were seeking. Furthermore, you didn't provide the details on the type of structure, the intended use, and any lot area dimensions, if applicable, if you were going for an area variance, all of which are necessary for us to make an informed decision on your application. For area variances, you must complete the required section of the application, and that's where you give the measurements, the required measurement, and what you're looking for. If you're requesting a use variance, you have to demonstrate that the intended use of the accessory structure is not permitted by code. And if it's not permitted by code, then you would fall into the realm of a use variance. Based upon the information as it was presented to this board, depending on what you present to us in a revised application, which is what I'm going to request that you do, that will determine if we're going to go the route of a use variance or an area variance, or both. But that's up to you to decide. We need to know what the accessory structure is going to be, what's the intended use of that structure, and then we'll be able to make an informed decision. So right now, I'm going to hold over this application until next month, and until such time that you can submit a revised application to the building department that we can hear. And we may even come back out and pay you another visit, depending on what you put on that application. That said, do I have a motion to hold over this application?
Yeah, I have that motion. Could I just expand a little bit, though?
Sure.
I mean, what I'd really suggest you do is, you're in an R10 zone, so what I'd really suggest you do is take a look at what the requirements for an R10 zone are, both in terms of the dimensional requirements, things you can measure with a ruler or a measuring tape.
I did take some measurements, maybe I didn't take the correct ones, but I went to the pins that were on record and I measured to the corner of the property. I'm not sure if that's what you guys were looking for, but I did take some measurements. Pretty much where I stand is I bought this structure and I'm not quite sure, it was labeled as a seasonal residency, which has different parameters, obviously. And then I was recommended to go through this process, so I'm not quite sure exactly what variance would be suitable, because I can't tell you what I'm gonna do with the property until I'm kind of told what, the guidelines are, I guess, in that matter. I know I'm not supposed to be living in it, but I'm kind of stuck with this property and I'm not quite sure of,
Well, that's pretty much up to you to decide what your intended use is going to be. And from my perspective, if you're going to require a use variance, the use of that structure, that accessory structure, what you plan to use it for, if that's prohibited by zoning code, then that would fall under the realm of going for a use variance.
okay.
If your dimensions of your lot, if you don't have the required setback, if you don't have front setback, side, rear, if you don't have the required setback, that would fall under an area variance. Now, an area variance is a lot easier to get, truth be told. But you may fall under the realm of both, depending on what you want to use that accessory structure
Yeah,
for.
like I said, obviously I can't live in it or rent it out or anything like that. Pretty much what it would be is storage and, extra square footage, whether, a shop, I don't have a garage to the main house, so I have tools in there now where if there's anything I need to fix. And then, it is 800 square feet, so it would be nice to, do something with it. I don't know what that would be, but I don't know what the purpose of paying the taxes on a structure if it's something I can't utilize. So I'm just going through the process, trying to figure out exactly what I can use it for, and then just trying to follow those rules, I guess. Okay, so
I
I'll
would
take
also add that you really need to do some homework on this, because there's significant issues for both the area and the use. The use variance, as Gordon said, is hard to get, and there's very strict rules on what you can use it for. And for what you can, for granting a use variance, is what I should be saying. Anyway, one of the ways to get around a problem that you're facing is that you have a structure that can't be used for anything, really. I mean, it can't be used for, it's inhabitable, which we agree with. So it's going to be tough. You have to look carefully at the rules and think about which way you want to go. The use variance is going to be tough to get because the strongest argument I think you would have for that is that you have a piece of property that's worthless, so that you would get a need variance, but that's one of the criteria for denying a use.
And if it gets denied, it just stays as a seasonal residency, and then it's just under the same rules, I guess it is now, that you can't live in. You know, I'd like to get the variance, because I feel like that's the right thing to do, because I was told I can't put a septic on the property. So then it's like, okay, if you can't put a septic in there, obviously you're not showering and living in it, and, you know.
Well, your best guide for
It would be more of like a
information.
big pole barn or a shed, or, you know, maybe park a car in it. I don't know if that's use. You know, I would like to use the structure. I pay taxes on it. It is a structure. It'd be funny to just make it a closet, you know. So those are the things that I guess I have to
I
go
agree.
through.
I think that I'm empathetic to your situation because I think you're doing a good deed for the neighborhood by
Yeah, well, that was
addressing the
thing.
issue.
It was, you know, a piece of property that no one wanted, and it was falling down, and it was right on the border of my property. I was hoping that someone would buy it, one of my neighbors, and knock it down, so it wasn't such an eyesore. So, you know, when I picked it up, it was just kind of putting it, the outside to make it look nice, you know, in the neighborhood. And then, you know, I started going through the process of like, okay, well, you know, what can I do with this property? And then, you know, I investigated that the septic wouldn't be a possibility because the lot is not zoned for it. And then, I was
You may
helped by-
want to address that particular issue because of the septic. You need to verify why you can't have a septic on that lot. Board of Health, septic company told you couldn't do it, but you need to prove, you're going to need to provide some documentation why a septic system can't be put on that lot. That's what makes it an inhabitable structure. That's just a hint.
Yeah, I guess I need some help with all this, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, but I'd suggest, the trouble is, you know, our powers are limited. I mean, you know, we can't just do whatever we want to do.
Right.
And I'm totally sympathetic to your position and your situation. But if you look at 7757 of the town code, which is on the town's website, in the zoning article, 7757, sets forth the powers we've got. And variances, you know, as a couple of people have said, kind of come in two varieties, area variances and use variances. And if you look at the R10 requirements, you'll see what the dimensional requirements are and also what uses are allowed. So if you want a variation from something that you can measure with a measuring tape, that's an area variance. If you want a variance from something other than, you want to use for other than enumerated uses, I mean, they're all set forth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the uses that are allowed. If you want something other than one of those uses, that's a use variance. And the problem is, for a use variance, it's a really uphill battle. An area variance is kind of a balancing test. I mean, that's much easier for us to give. A use variance, if you look at 7757 of the town code, it says what, you know, we have to do in order to give a use variance. And candidly, it's tough. It really is tough.
Okay, well, I guess I'm between a rock and a hard place. I will figure it out. I'll do some research and try to get some information on why I can't have a septic, and I guess resubmit more paperwork once I figure that out.
Yeah, well, Mr. Walters is a great guy to ask questions and bounce things off of, but first and foremost, you know, yes, you need to get that septic system. Who told you you couldn't have the septic system? And if you can get that in writing, that would be great. Next, you have to come to your decision. What type of structure do you want? What do you want to use it for?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna be like staying in there overnight. I know there's no insulation in it, it's just a concrete shell. So I guess my vision would be to make it like kind of, I guess, how the seasonal residency was written up, where in the summertime, when you could tolerate being in there, have a workshop or whatever, hang out, you know, just an extra
Well, you're gonna have to
spot.
articulate that on the application.
Okay,
What you need to use, and also pay attention to the body where it requires the dimensions.
okay.
So, you know, when you take that ye old measuring tape out, but you have to articulate all this stuff on the
Okay.
application. So we can make an informed
Make it
decision.
a little more detailed.
Yeah, and for the use variance, there are 4 things specified that you've got to establish, which, you know, again, I wish I could say it, you know, in a sugar-coated way, but I can't. It's tough to establish.
Yeah.
But, you know, you've got
Don't
to prove
know
each of those
really.
4 things.
At the end of the day, if it gets knocked back, then where does it lie? Is it just a structure that, you know, what is it labeled as now? It's still a seasonal residency?
Yeah.
So it would just be under those guidelines, I guess, of the seasonal residency if this doesn't go through? And I would have to do some research on the size variance, but it would have been nice to utilize the, you know, the place, since I would be, you know, paying for it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can get, you know, get the tax assessment reduced. I mean, if it's, you know,
Yeah,
if it's, you know, as you're describing it, it certainly is not worth what a house that you can use year-round is worth. So,
No.
so if it's being assessed that way for tax purposes, you know,
Yeah.
maybe it's a way to get the tax assessment reduced.
Yeah.
Again, we can't do that.
Yeah,
But
I appreciate you answering my questions.
Okay, so, you know, good luck,
right.
and hopefully we'll see you again back with a revised application.
All right, great. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you. With that, do I have a motion to hold this application over until next month?
Make that motion.
Ted makes the motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, next item up on the agenda is that of Yuri Sivin, 36 Duchess Lake Court.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'll take it over here as well. One place. Thank you.
My name is Robert Bradley. I'm representing the owners of 36 Duchess Lake Court in the town of Kent. We need various area variances. In order to make out the area variances, there's really no way that we can achieve this by any other means. There's a house on either side. There's no property for sale that we can correct any of these. We're not making any undesirable change to the neighborhood. The house has been there. It's been there since either 1940 or before, so it pre-exists the current standards. The request is, for the area, is certainly substantial. It's now a 2-acre zone, and we have certainly less. I think we need about a 71,000 square foot variance for that, so that one is substantial. There's no adverse physical or environmental effects, anything done to the house as far as for septic, or that has to be approved by the Putnam County Department of Health. And the difficulty is certainly not self-created. This was done by, the owners of the house probably were not even born when this house was built, and had absolutely nothing to do with the construction of it. They just want to fix up the house as it currently stands. We need a variance, a side line variance. We need 20 feet, we have 17 feet 2. We need a 2.8 foot variance for the sideline. The lot is only 8,883 square feet. It's a pre-existing lot. It pre-exists certainly the current zoning and probably 2 zoning changes before that. So it's 71,117 feet. of variance for the area. The lot width, we need 250 feet, we have 50. We need a 200-foot variance. And the lot frontage, it's 250 feet, we have 49 feet, and we need a 201-foot variance. And again, all this is pre-existing the current zoning. And the owners of the property now just want to fix up what they've got. It's an older house. They want to fix it up. I've spoken with some of the neighbors. I believe one of the neighbors is here. And I've spoken to the neighbors on either side. And I think it would probably be, if you can agree, it'd be an improvement to the neighborhood if this house is fixed up. So that's what we're here for. So I thank you for your consideration. I know you were out on a Sunday there.
Is there anyone here who would like to comment on this application? Anyone who would like to comment on this application? Anyone who would like to comment on this application? Great. So as you are aware, we were out, we took a look, and it was a 239M referral situation.
Yes.
And we have since heard back, and it was approved by county planning.
This afternoon,
Yeah.
I got it.
So,
It came in at the last minute, so that would,
Yeah.
what timing on that?
any other board members have any commentary?
Well, since your neighbors came all the way over here to witness, why don't we have your comments? Why don't you just tell us why?
I didn't really know what was going on.
Come on up, please. Sign yourself in.
You want his address or my address?
Yours.
Okay.
It's the house next door,
Yes. Yeah, I just came to hear what the plans were because I knew they wanted to do some work to it, but I had no idea what they wanted to do. So I'm just curious what it was. So that's why I'm here. It's an old house. It's in pretty terrible condition, particularly compared to the rest of the houses around it. So any improvements, I think, would be good for the neighborhood.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments?
So just to clarify, I mean, I think what you're talking about is building up, right? So you're not changing the footprint.
They're talking about not changing the footprint of it, but as far as we spoke with the building inspector about the fact of going up, it'll always remain a one-bedroom house. It's only 400 and something square foot at this point. So if on the main floor you put like a small kitchen, maybe a bathroom, that's about all you'd have room for, and then one bedroom up above. I know there's other lots in town where that's been done on lots where they've gone up and stay within the same footprint for the base.
Correct. Yeah, we've allowed that, as long as they stay within the same footprint. I mean, you
Right.
still need to get Board of Health approval for
Yes,
septic
yes.
and everything else, but
Right.
my understanding, this application was to go up one story
Right.
and remain a one-bedroom.
Yeah, it would obviously have to remain in one bedroom. There's no, there's a very realistic, it can't be expanded besides the one bedroom.
Yeah.
And the owners have been before the Board of Health and are working on getting the Board of Health approval. And of course, before anything is done, that has to be submitted to the building department.
Correct. They would also need to, if they get the variance, then they would be able to go to, and they get the planning board approvals, Board of Health approvals, then they would be able to go to the planning board and go further, because they're close to the lake and wetland
Right.
permits need to be obtained, so
And,
this is their first step.
yeah, before we do anything else with this, it needs to be, we need these variances to be able to go forward.
You probably told us, but it's been vacant up till, for the last few years? Or?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
No further comment here.
Yeah, I would just want to clarify that the footprint is going to stay the same.
Sure, absolutely. All right, that said, do I have a motion to approve this application?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next item up on the agenda is Mary Ann Cohan. and Masoud Cohen. Good evening. So this should be quick and painless for you. We've had an opportunity, or why don't you tell us why you're here?
I believe it's a holdover from the prior, we were here two months ago.
Okay, and this is for a subdivision,
It's a
correct?
subdivision, and we needed the variance for
Okay.
the frontage.
Okay, great. Well, we heard back from the planning, county planning, and they gave us the go-ahead. They approved it. So, any board member have a commentary regarding this matter?
I don't.
No.
Great. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Great. Good night.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Your next step would be the town planning board to complete that. Okay.
All right, is there anything else before the board? Before I proceed to close?
Should we do the minutes for,
Are there pending minutes?
yeah, for 2
Oh,
months?
for October? Yeah.
I think it's
October, November?
November and December.
November, December. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we took a look at them last time.
Right.
Yeah. I assume everyone had an opportunity to review the November, December minutes? I know, Andy, you had a couple of,
Which were reflected.
yeah,
you're-
that you're all set? Good.
All set.
All right, great. Ted?
Yeah, same,
All right, great. Do I have a motion to approve? No, the November and December minutes?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And that gives us a wrap. Good night, and we'll see you back here in February.